And sir is also recently published one of the book on social auditing. And if you are aware that social auditing is a new terms, the people has to go to the NICM center and crack the examinations. There is no any available material as on today, but sir has taken a pain and published one the particular books which development sector people can read it easily, and through this they can definitely pass the examination. Sir, your book help us the two participants for my students
Oh,
that they
great, great.
successfully clear the examination. One of myself and another is one of our participant social audit. Right. So they both
Good, good.
has cleared the
Great.
examination in one go. So thank you
Congrats.
for
Congrats to them.
helping us to advance our career. And with this note, I would like to welcome you again, and I would like to request you to please share the content that prepared for us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Sanjay. And good evening, everyone, uh, for your time, taking the pain to learn something. And I appreciate if we can switch on our videos to make the session more interactive. Also, I want that everyone should be active because as we mentioned, or I see in the chat, only two participants have responded to Mr. Sanjay's query regarding they have heard about ESG. No doubt, we are here for learning. Even if you have heard it, I may learn from you something during the session. Let it be more interactive sessions so that we can learn new things. Being most of you are from the development sector, I will touch upon ways how we can link these topics with your development sector also, and how they are affecting this new terminology. In today's world, I believe that you must have heard the sustainability or the circle economy, right? Thank you, Mr. Tongin. Thank you, Osamaniji and Manikji also already switch on the video. So I appreciate that if other candidates also, participants also switch on their video to make it more interactive, it will keep the session live. Thank you, Sandeep ji. Great, great, Kamlesh bhai, great, Shahid ji. Thank you very much for motivating because it will keep the speaker also motivating and engaged with you rather than I may have the 70 slides, but even if I may complete 10, 20, 50 slides and you get it from something that I believe my objective will be achieved, right? We can have another session if you want to complete the session, but whatsoever I am speaking or we are learning together, right? Because you are of different field and I may learn a lot of things from you. But that will only happen when we have the interactive session. Time is the value for all of us. And we are giving time to this session and let us take maximum out of this 1.5 hours. Right. So Sandeep ji, my answer is that let it be tentative. If any part you will miss, because sorry to diverting from the topic, but I want to answer Sandeep's query. If we are really in the session and we heard the session carefully, right? Recording maybe or may not be available, but definitely I will request to give the recording at the end to Professor Sanjay. But I request to be please more engaged in the session. Recording अपना बहुत कम लोग देखते हैं. For reference purpose, definitely you will see. I have similar request I made when I'm a student, but there are a lot of material available on the YouTube also relating to ESG and BRSR. But hardly any one of us is going to see and spare some time. So this is 1.5 hour you have chosen to give me your precious time for this session with no foundation, with no any force. It's by choice, I believe. Right, Sanjay ji? Everyone is here by choice.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah,
Absolutely, sir.
anyone by force, please type in the chat box that Sanjay ji forced them to join the session. So if we are here by choice, so I respect your time, I value your time, and I make my all efforts to deliver this 1.5 hour maximum out of you will get maximum out of this time. For reference purpose, definitely you can have the recording later on with the permission of Professor Sanjay. So with this, again, good evening, everyone, and giving your time. I'm starting my session. If I'm audible and my presentation is visible to you, please type in the chat box that everyone can see my presentation. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Thank
Perfect,
you.
sir.
Thank you, Shivaji. Thank you, Shahidji. So when you are typing the chat box also, it will keep me motivated that at least we are doing the right thing. Yes, sir. So today's topic is demystifying ESG and BRSR, a comprehensive guide. And the background of this ESG, BRSR, Sustainable Development Goal. So I believe that every one of us hear the nuisance of this sustainability now in everyday life. Am I right? You can speak also. We are only a few participants, so you can give a motivation that have you heard about the sustainability, word sustainability? And I will let you know what is the point or why we are making this thing. Give me a minute. Yeah. So ESG, sustainability. Sustainability we all know, and India, not now when the global pressure comes in from the Vedic times, it is in favor of sustainability. Our roots are designed to have a sustainable future for our future generations, whether it is in rate of the water reservation, conservation, or in any other field, donating, building up the communities, building up the schools, everywhere, we are taking care of our future generations. The ESG is comprising of three words: environment, governance, and social. So how this is designed, someone write in the chat box as the economic, but it's about the environment. Earlier, the concept is about the profit only. Pre-independence era, if we see in the colonial, in the British Raj, we have the only profitability, only profit as the motive of the business organization. When we become independent, our constitution makers have put us as a social state. And in an amendment to the constitution, the word social has been added also later on. So we are a social economy. We care for our people, and in our constitution also takes care of this sustainability and sociality since independence. And we are keeping the word now: people, planet, and profit. Triple P concept is there. That is what the we call the sustainability. So from the rupee only, from the profit motive only, we have moved from capitalism to the conscious capitalism. Means we will earn the profit, but keeping our planet alive, our environment alive, our society alive. So good governance is required. That is the G part. So governance is required. Governance is required to generate the profits, and it should be a good governance. The environment should not be badly affected while earning the profits. And society should be served. So we should not ignore the people, ignore the employees. So that's why the three words ESG, environment, society, and governance, come together to form out the governance, good society, and the people. However, so this forms the basic ESG. Environment area addresses a company's operational environment impact and environmental stewardship. Social criteria, how the company manages the relationship. Now company is not thinking about itself. Company has to think about its employee. Company has to think about its vendors, its customers. So have to create the value for all the stakeholders. And governance refers to the leadership and management philosophy, practices, policies, and intercontrols of the shareholder rights. So this is how the ESG concept has become now relevant. But whether this is still there, so let me take you through the history and evolution of the ESG. So there are fancy words now coming in because of the global impact is there. As I told you that we sustainability is in our roots from our Vedic era. But the things when people talks about it, every common people talks about it, it will become more popular, more relevant, more organized. So now this is a compulsion. From voluntary stage, we are coming to the compulsion stage. So earlier we are doing it in a voluntary way, but now because of the regulations, we are doing it in a regulated way. That's why this sustainability, this take care, because now global everyone is aware of this, and globally they are taking pain to become the sustainable. So in 1980s, I think everyone has heard in the companies, was word in the corporate world about the word EHS, environment, health, and safety. There is a separate department in the company who is taking care in a factory, who is taking care of the environment, health, and safety. And this is in almost in every corporate organization before the concept of ESG also when they have to take care of the health of their employees, safety instructions, Factories Act, Industrial Disputes Act, all these acts have been amended later 80s or early 80s. These have been amended to incorporate the welfare of the employees. And most of the companies have this EHS as the presentation mode in the as the fulfill criteria for their employees. Right? How many of you have heard this EHS word? Just type yes in the chat box. No one has heard the EHS word. Am I audible? Yeah. Mr. Murad has kind enough. Said has kind enough from Dharti NGO that they have heard about EHS. Thank you. This will keep me live as well as others live also. Thank you for responding. So sustainability word comes somewhere in 1990s where the sustainability definition has been given that we have to enjoy the resources without affecting the future. So we have to fulfill our necessities, but not at the cost of the future generation. CSR, I think everyone has heard because it is impacting all the development sector. So here I want a big yes from the participants that they have heard about CSR. I'm surprised if you are not come out of this yes here because other I may understand. Yeah. So Shruti ji say yes, Sandeep ji say yes, right? Murad ji say yes, but only three participants out of 18 participants are there. Yeah, Kamlesh ji say yes. Great. So CSR, because you are getting the funds from the corporate social responsibility, that is also for the governance part, the responsibility of the company towards the society, and it is by regulation, mandatory or voluntary CSR. Bala Murugan ji. So it is more, mandatory or voluntary? Yeah, it is mandatory. So every company who is a profit-making company, they have to spend the funds in the CSR, and that is following the ESG, the social part of the CSR. Environmental social governance, that is historic concept relating to EHS. Now they have given it. Now the word is coming out as the ESG. But now why it is becoming so much popular? That I will also explain in our coming slides that why this is becoming more popular nowadays, why everyone is now getting the things as per the ESG or sustainability. Before that, I want to give some incidents why the global people or the world has awakened suddenly. It's not suddenly, but now they are coming to the mandatory rules. Like CSR become mandatory from 2013. Earlier we are doing it voluntary, but now it is become mandatory. And it's become mandatory because of the global pressure as well. We are doing it, but now we have incorporated in our regulatory framework. So some high profile examples. How many of you have heard about this PP's US deep water happened in 2010? So here their oil has spill up in the ocean, and life underwater has been impacted badly. In case of Volkswagen, they have been penalized because their diesel vehicles are fails to pass the emission test. So environmental issues are there. And everyone knows that in 2018, Facebook users' data has been compromised. That is a governance rule. So these are the big incidents happened in the recent past, which forces to bring the regulatory requirements all over the world. So what the ESG all about? ESG is not about the values. It is about the ability to create and sustain long-term value. So it's not about the short term. It has to create the impact, and impact is always a long-term effect. So when we heard about the social audit, NGOs, which you guys are creating, the development sector is creating, they are creating the impact on the society. So this impact which you're creating is now also be the responsibility of those who are making the profits. CSR is one of the steps to force them to go for the social, to go for the development sector, to create an impact on the society, and via media is NGOs or the development sector. Same way, the ESG is about the ability to create and sustain long-term value in a rapidly changing world and managing the risk and opportunity associated with these changes. So while we are creating the impact, we should not forget in the growth that our future is in danger. That's why we have to come up with the environmental social concern while we earning the profits. So there are the fundamental how now I'm correlating it why the businessman will adopt this ESG effect, right? Why they are not only going for the because now the vision, now the style, now how the people look at the corporate has changed. The corporate reputation, there is a risk reduction, management, and cultural intrinsic value. These are the four factors. If a business has to sustain for a long term, then they must have to take care of all these four aspects. If you are only earning the profits, your reputation is not there, the business not will survive for the long term. So ESG can enhance the ESG is again. Now, what is the ESG? As we already discussed, the taking care, creating the impact on the society. So ESG can enhance a company's license to operate, making it easier to accomplish business objectives. As we already mentioned, that Facebook has lost billions of the market value. But if they follow these cyber risks, if they care for the society, if they care for their customer, then this risk might be reduced. So their reputation can is not on the stake. ESG helps to identify the immediate and long-term risk, like availability of labor, material, and what are the regulations done around. As I mentioned, that factories had given so many welfare act regulations. So the regulations are developing so fast, right? A food production company in Western United States dependent largely on the local labor force. And if then it should be highly susceptible to the natural disaster and occur due to climate change. That's why the ESG creating the social impact, social awareness will help them to reduce their long-term risk also. Shifting market and non-market condition can expose unmet needs for new products and services. Strategic relationship for addressing the ESG issues. Unlevering ESG efforts in the emerging market have resulted in greater profitability market. So ESG, if a company is sustainable. So nowadays you have heard about the Coca-Cola using the recycling bottles. Or many companies said it is a recycled product, manufactured from the recycled product, or it is a circle economy built up. Then people don't mind to pay higher prices for those products which are sustainable, which are made from the recycled product. So whole paradigm has been shifted now from that we will not use or we will not buy any product which is made out of the used items. Now people would like to buy an item which is made from the used and want to pay more for that because they are now aware of the sustainability. And the cultural shift is there. People have culturally inbuilt with the ESG factors. And if you invest in that, those factors that will be fruitable, that will ensure your success. So the fundamental business issues, positive effect by the ESG is that with the corporate reputation, more and more investors will come. It will enhance your customer base. It will reduce the disruption and losses. You will get the good workforce, and also you can identify the new markets, customers, and revenue stream. That's why ESG is important. In this one slide, you will get the ESG metrics. That what are the companies taking care of under the environment pillar, social pillar, and the governance pillar. So under the environment pillar, mainly four things which you have already heard of: climate change, natural resources, pollution and waste, and environment opportunity. Many of the our development sector has played a great role in building up this environment pillar. If you are working in this direction for the waste management, or if you are working in the recycling of the any of the recycling of the project, then definitely you can approach the corporate sector because now they will be feel proud to engage you guys so that they can build up their ESG activity. That is the environmental portion, environmental pillar of this. The regulation built up against the EPR, you must have heard packing metal waste, that is the plastic waste, electronic waste, toxic waste, different regulations have also been built up, and many development sector or CSOs have come forward to manage these things for the corporates. Then coming to the social pillar, that is the human capital, product liability, stakeholder position, and social opportunity. Regulations have been developed against all these which the corporates have to fulfill. And then the governance people pillar, where the corporate governance and corporate behavior. Now, if you see, every big company has posted their policy, their business ethics policy, their anti-competitive practices on their website. So they are good enough to show their tax transparency, their accounting policies, the robust accounting thing. So it is now not only the have to give the quantitative aspect, the companies come forward to give the qualitative aspects also. Paradigm shift journey. So as we mentioned, the story starts from 1980 globally. India, it's voluntary available, unorganized sector available, followed since inception. In 1987, the Bernard Commission that defined the sustainable development. For the first time, the word sustainability comes in 1987. As I mentioned in my earlier slide also, that in 1980, 1990s, the word sustainability has come into picture. 1992, United Nations Framework on Climate Change. that is relating to the E pillar, environment pillar of the ESG has come in. Many organizations, many CSO sectors have come aware of this climate change and they are taking pain to address that. In 1997, Kyoto framework has been signed. What is this framework? This is a framework to measure the impact what a company is making or what your development sector is doing on the environment side. So they have given the parameters that how can you measure it, that what are the carbon emissions you are giving, how to measure those carbon emissions, what are the plastic waste you are generating, how many years they will be there, what is the tonnage will be there. So each of them, the GRI has made the framework, the measurement, quantitative measurement of the qualitative aspects. So there are different frameworks have come in. But
अभी ब्लूटूथ दिखा रहा है, घूमना चाहिए।
sorry,
आपने फुल किया हुआ है ना?
anything to me? I request to please.
Sir, you proceed. I think I just muted two participants. Sir, unmute and go ahead, sir. Rakesh, sir. राकेश सर अनम्यूट कीजिए. 1 minute, sir. Let me. राकेश सर अब कीजिए.
Yeah, now I can. Thank you. Thank you, Sanjay. Sorry for the disturbance. I request everyone to
अरे
mute yourself. Yeah.
प्लीज सर प्लीज.
So in 2001, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has been formed. So first, 1987 to 2000, it's the waking up period. The people are awakening, the governments are awakening, the global consensus has been built up that there should be a sustainability global level. So everyone has to come together, every country has to come together to build up the consensus. Then the phase comes in where regulatory requirements, सबको लगा यार काम करने से कोई नहीं सुनता है, मन की कोई नहीं मानता है अपने आप से, ये कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर प्रॉफिट के पीछे ही रहेंगे. So they have started building up the regulations, and they have built up the regulations started relating to EPR, plastic taxes rollout, and local regulations have been changed in sync with to attain this sustainability. 2015 is the landmark year when all the United Nations come up with the sustainable development goal. Each and every country of the world, whether it's a developing country or a developed country, everyone has come together and signed a pact, taken the target 230 agenda. 230 agenda they have taken in 2015 that we will work towards the sustainability. Developed countries will help the developing countries, give the funds to developing countries to meet the deadline. And that is the year of turnaround. But the developing countries like India and others, all the countries have to make the regulations in this direction. And this is the year from where we need now to come out. So if you have heard about the affordable housing, smart city, Ujjwala Yojana of Prime Minister Modi, so all of these are result of these SDG, because India is also a signatory to this pact, wherein they have given its sustainability, or this is not only about the plastic emissions or carbon emissions. It's about the upliftment of the society people also. There should be no poverty. That is the first SDG goal, that there should be no poverty. There should be no hunger. That is the second. And third is there is good quality of education to everyone. So top three priorities are relating to the society, to the people. And regulations have been built up now to get these things done. The people, and social sector has to play an important role in meeting these development goals. And why this section is more important for you, because if you understand the requirement of the corporate sector beyond the CSR, then why they will be able to give you the more funds, or why more funding can come to you? What are the regulatory requirements? It's not coming at its own, because most of the public think that it comes at the own the government initiative. But if you come to know that this is mandatory, or this is going to be mandatory, or this company has to do this thing, then obviously you will go with more confidence, more representative way to give your project, rather than just say or in a begging position or voluntary position. If they have to do it and your project has the value, definitely they are going to support you. The merit holders only will remain now. The good NGOs, the good development sector who really work in this sector, they will remain because more of transparency. If you see on the top right of the side, which is giving the survey, that in 2016, 27% of the investors' focus is on the non-financial disclosure. And within 4 years, it has been increased to 72%. Means now people are less bothered, or least bothered about the quantitative data, only the profitability. So now they are also looking the company is profitable, but whether it is caring for the society also or not. And they will investing in those companies. That's the importance, that will give you the guys the confidence that because of this CSR is 2013 matter, but now they have also changed the CSR regulations in sync with the sustainable development goals. So everything, every regulation now come to a common platform to sync with the social development goals. The companies are now publishing the reports, and in those reports, if the report is of 200 pages, 150 pages are about the non-financial disclosures, what impact they are creating on the stakeholders, on the society. And to fill up those 150 pages, you guys are going to make this impact. You guys have to go to the corporate sector, that we are the people who are doing the work for the society, and we can give you the matter to fill in your pages. So they cannot alone do the things. It has to be come in hands, sync hands with you to bring up the projects. And more transparency at your end also will give them the confidence to fill in their pages. So it's a win-win situation for both the profit sector as well as the non-profit sector. As you can see that India has also taken the target net zero in emission 2070. In 2025, there is a deadline for consumer sustainability target, including plastic and carbon. Many countries, including India, had taken to fulfill the SDG goals by 2030. Not all the 17, but certain goals. This is another good data where you can see that 98% of the investors surveyed evaluate non-financial disclosures either formally or informally. So now the investors are impacted that what the company is doing about the society. Like if you say the first name which come in your mind, can you type in the chat box the first name that come in the chat box in your mind about a company serving the society? Great, Hemlataji. And you know the fact that Tata is the first company who has introduced the concept of social audit in India. They are building the impact because they are since before voluntary. Why we know the first name Shashikanji, Hemlataji come in our mind is that Tata is that they are the first company in India who have voluntarily introduced the concept of social audit much before the government. And that's why we can see that the first name that comes into our mind about the giving back to society is Tata. Though Wipro has also done, Reliance is also doing, but might be they are doing it because of the regulatory authority. Wipro has done voluntary, no doubt, as Premji has given a lot to the society back. Infosys is given has given back a lot of back to society. But now building up the regulations and the companies who come forward voluntarily also, right? Yeah, Adani is also doing. So they are doing it voluntarily as well as because of the regulations to support the government, not only because of the CSR. The things are going much beyond the CSR because, as I mentioned, that the corporate reputation will come into the picture only if they will serve the society. They will get funds easily. So it's a cumulative effect. If they think about the society will return you much more. And this is written in our Vedas also, in Upanishads also. The more you give to the society, you will get back in return much more, multiple times. Multiple times. So be generous, not in our personal life also, not in our corporate life, but in your personal life also. Give more and more back to the society. The more you give, multiple returns you will get multiple times. See any socialist who is working for the society, he has the name, fame, everything over a period of time. But you have to do it without any expectation. Why you are remembering the name of Tata? Because they are not doing it by force. They are doing it voluntarily. Every company is doing nowadays the CSR. But if you give it without expectation, निस्वार्थ भाव से अगर आप करेंगे तो आपको पक्का वापसी मिलेगा. That is in our roots. 83% of the investors surveyed consider formal frameworks to be necessary. So they have said ki, okay, the formal framework should be there so that measurement can be there. It's not about the I agree some reports are just on the paper, but you and people can figure out that these reports are on paper or these reports are not on paper. That's why concept of social audit or social impact assessment also now coming in. So I don't have the social audit slide today, but in my session, in those sessions I mentioned, the reputation of Indian NGOs is also not so good development sector. That's why regulations have been built up now to make the impact assessment study so that it will come from the paper and whatsoever is in the paper should be a reality. The government is taking steps, aggressive steps. And second, instead of qualitative, there are the quantitative measurement. You are very right, Himlataji, that it's notes on paper. But if you see that 83% of the investor consider formal framework to be necessary in assessing the long-term value. So they need the quantitative data, not the qualitative data. That if there are 18 participants at the end of the session, Mr. Sanjay should understand that how many participants are active. That is the impact assessment. So tomorrow, if he is going to get the NGO assessment, definitely as an auditor or as an impact assessor, I will definitely ask how many people come back to you to know more about this, because then there will be a output of the session. How many people approached you to know more about this BRSR activity, and how many people of you have gone to the corporate sector. So once the team will come to you guys that you have attended the session, have you approached any corporate using this session? That is a long-term impact. That is the real output. And from that, we will issue a report that, okay, out of this session has 18 participants, 50% has given the impact. So we will write down that impact of this session is 50% or output is 50%. Might be he has floated reach, outreach is there. So I'm just giving the example. And this is in your terminology only. That how many emails he has floated. So we should have a record of that. That he has floated 200 emails, but only 18 participants have joined. Now, out of 18 participants, how many continue till last? And after it, after that is the output, right? Then it will come out. What is then impact is a long-term effect. That how many you will continue to understand the BRSR impact. Are you getting me? And 75% of the investors surveyed would find value in assurance of the robustness of the organization planning and climate risk. That what is the organization taking to have the climate risk. This is the regulatory framework, how the evolution of ESG reporting developed in India. Non-financial reporting has gained attraction. GRI framework in 1997. SASB also have given a framework, and these all framework are the voluntary in nature. So people can find out, as you see in the previous slide, that 83% of the investors look for a structured framework to measure the performance in the ESG area. And for the first time, Security and Exchange Board of India come out with the requirement of ESG reporting with the name of Business Responsibility Report. So for the first time, they have come out and they have mandated it the top 100 listed companies in India, but the structure, the format is not mandatory or format is not structured. So they have to report the necessary elements. And as Himlata mentioned, that most of them are on paper. So you cannot adjust or you cannot see that whether this is into reality or not. But believe me, now these are into the reality. Because you will see in the coming how it evolves, that purpose behind the disclosure is just to enable the business to engage, reach out to the stakeholders in more meaningful manner. In 2013, Section 135 of the companies has been introduced to take the CSR, and this is mandatory. Next step is taken in 2015, as I already mentioned. National voluntary guidelines has been aligned with these sustainable development goals. And in the same year, SEBI has increased to file the business responsibility report to top 500 listed companies. If you go and see the BSc and NSC website, there is a separate section of business responsibility report. It is not integrated earlier with their annual report. But now, many companies have issued their BRSR report, which they have changed in 21. And they have given the format also. I will explain about the BRSR, but BRR, BRSR, all are linked with the ESG, creating the impact. But these are the structured or upgraded version of the previous versions in the more regulated forms. The national guidelines on responsibility business conduct, that NVG has been replaced, national voluntary guidelines now have been replaced with the NGRBC, and that is only a revised form of NVG. These guidelines are insisted to assist the business to embrace the principle of responsible conduct, going beyond the requirement of regulatory compliance. And SEBI has mandated top 1,000 companies in the stock exchange to make the BRSR as a part of their annual report. So earlier, it was a separate segment. Many of us are not even aware of it, but now it is a part of the annual report. So they are mandatory to report. And from next year, 250 companies have to get the impact assessment. And that is the answer to Himlata's query, that this is not the paper thing, because they now have to give the impact assessment report of their activities also. So this BRSR report has to be assessed by the social auditor. And gradually this 250 number will increase to many, because this is the future. So those who have not gone for the social audit exam, because you're in development sector, you can easily crack it. Just go and appear for the social audit exam. In between, though this is not the part of the topic, may I know how many of you are aware of the social auditing? You can write in the chat box, please. Anyone? Hemlata ji, Falguni ji, Manik ji, Mr. Murad. Yeah, Hemlata ji aware of that. Okay. Anyone has cracked the exam or not? Only one person has heard about the social audit. Okay. So this is the future basically. And this is a good opportunity for the development sector also because they understand. So Kamlesh ji also, Murad ji also have understood about the social audit. And they, you have cleared also, right? Mr. Rajput and Mr. Murad, have you cleared also? Okay, maybe there's a time lag. Okay, Shashikant ji is planning. No worry. So go for it. Everyone has now, yeah, everyone should go for it because this is your area. Yeah, Manik ji also has cleared, I believe, and Kamlesh, good. So these are the evolution of ESG reporting. Just a brief table of what is earlier in the slides. That in 2015, BRR guidelines have been given, where top 500 companies have been mandated and extended to 1,000 companies in the BSC. The IRDAI insurance company regulations also made the reporting. SEBI has given the integrated reported for the listed companies, but it is a voluntary adoption. And now in 2021, 22, 23, they have made the mandatory for the top 1,000 companies to give the report. The Sustainability Reporting Standard Board has been established who will give the sustainability standards also, how to implement it. So now the journey from ESG to BRSR, how the journey from ESG and CSR is the tool to implement these ESG guidelines for the companies. And BRSR is more about the reporting type, what they have done in the sector of ESG. If we do the interplay between ESG, CSR, and BRSR, so we can say that ESG is actually what we are doing, and CSR is a tool to implement the ESG. Only one tool, that is the ES part. Obviously, governance is also there. So that is a tool for the ESG. And BRSR is the reporting guidelines so that you can measure the impact what a business is making on the society in the area of ESG. So I believe that interplay between ESG, BRSR, CSR, and social audit will be clear by the end of this action. So these are interconnected things. So why these are issued? Because thirst to maximizing the business impact, it should be have a global reporting standard in the annual report. It should link with that. There should be training and awareness. And not only the profit disclosures, quantitative disclosures are there. There should be the environment and social assessment related disclosure should be there. Currently, the BRSR reporting is voluntary, but for top 250 companies, you have to issue the impact assessment report. Why this is more lucrative for you guys? Because any chartered accountant who is coming now, they should have the experience of 3 years in the development sector. They can crack the exam, but they might not be able to do the audit, or they might not be able to issue the impact assessment reports because of the fact that they do have a limited experience in the development sector. As I mentioned that in 2015 or 2012, the business responsibility statements have been issued, report has been there, And there are 5 sections: general information, financial details, other details, BR information, and principal files performance is there. But now they have simplified it into the 3 parts: general disclosures, management and process, and principle wise performance. 9 principles they have defined, and they have given the sections of the 9 principles, what the company has done in these 9 sections. They have the universal and single format. Now they have given the 2 kind of indicators. One is the essential indicators, and second is the leadership indicators. Earlier, companies have to answer 59 questions. Now they have to answer 140 questions, out of which 98 are mandatory to answer. Earlier, it was qualitative only. Now it is qualitative and quantitative both, so that you can correlate. It should not be a paper report only. Earlier, it was a part of annual report, and on the BSC's website, it can be filed separately. But now you have to file it with the MC also, along with your annual report. This is the disclosure structure of the BRSR. Section A about the entity. The general disclosures are about the entity. Second is about the management approach, how they are giving the management process disclosures. Third is about each principle. There are 9 principles, as I mentioned, and each of the 9 principles has been linked with the sustainable development goals. And the essential indicators are compulsory, and leadership indicators, that is 42 indicators, are voluntary to report. General disclosure section namely contain the detail of the listed entity, what the product they are giving, what is the CSR, transparency, basic information about the company. Basic information includes about their address, website, financial year, company details, serial number 2, 6, and 11, 12 is BRSR comprehensive format, which is auto-filled when they generate this report. I'm just running through the requirement of the BRSR, how the companies, and you can correlate it also with your development sector, that how they, where you can pitch it. Number of business activities sectors in which the companies engage the general information. The general disclosure is there. Top 3 products where company turnover, brands associated with them. So now you can see what are the brands associated with them. What is the percentage of exports by value? So you will understand about the nature, business of the company, where the plants are located, where their operations are there, and they have to give the location of top 3 plants, so that you can see which areas are or which markets are served by the company. I will come back at the end. Will take the Q&A session. So part 4 of the section A is about the employees. So if you see, they have mentioned employees, differently abled employees. Right. So here the chance of development sector who are serving or who are taking care of the differently abled people, so they can reach out the corporates to fulfill this objective, because now they have to mention there that how many differently abled employees they have hired. So you can see the corporate reports of the companies who are not working in this direction, and you can easily approach those companies to fulfill this BSG criteria. So you can mark those development sector colleagues are having this. So it is an easy target. You can easily identify and say, boss, you have to report this in the BRSR today or tomorrow. So you can engage the persons from our NGO. Representation of the women, including differently disabled. So this section is purely on the part of the differently disabled employees. They will get the more advantage. People started looking at that. One of the sustainable development agenda is gender equality. That includes the transgenders also. And you have heard that now people are also hiring the transgenders also. So change in the society is coming up, and more reporting, more and more transparency that will come up. And once you will assess these reports, then it will not be on the papers. Section 6 is there for the CSR report. Section 5 is for the holding company, including joint venture. Section 6 is the CSR details. What are the CSR they have made? This is all the CSR report is there. Then it contains section B, coming about the management and process disclosures. It contains the questions related to policy and management processes. So questions, so it cannot be on the paper. First, you have to give full disclosure about the company, where it is engaged, where the plant is there, what the market it is served, which products it is made, and then what is the policy, what you think about this sector. They have to provide the details. They have to adapt the policy to cover each principle. When I come to the principles, you come to know that it is nothing but related to you only. So it must also mention the process by which top management review compliance. So they have to give the process. So you can see the section B, whether the company has covered each of the principles. So there are 9 principles which are covered in section C of the report. But there you have to mention in how many principles you have to frame, they have framed the policy, and whether that policy is approved by their board of directors or not. And if yes, whether the policies are available, you have given the policies on the website. So they have to give the answer to each and every, though each and every is not mandatory, as I mentioned, that only 98 questions are in the principal section, 98 are mandatory indicators. So they just have to mention which principle they are following. Do the enlisted policies extend to your value chain partners? So now, this is a big difference. This question makes a big difference. To the question, with this introduction of these questions, do you think that BRSR is mandatory only to the 1,000 companies, or it will extend beyond the 1,000 companies? Can anyone help me to find out the answer? Whether the BRSR reporting, as I mentioned earlier, is mandatory for 1,000 listed companies by market cap, but in their report they have to mention whether the policies extend to your value chain partners. So whether the BRSR is relevant only for 1,000 companies, or it will extend beyond 1,000 companies to their suppliers, to their customers also. So the moment these companies adopt the BRSR policy and enlisted the policy to their value chain suppliers, they are also supposed to follow the BRSR and creating impact in the ESG. Am I clear? I hope I'm clear. Okay. So they have to give the name of the national, international codes, certifications, stewardship council, then specific commitments and goals with the defined timelines. You will find out there the commitments. Then statement by director responsible, who is the responsible for the BRR. So the directors are responsible. They can take the principle, and they can take that, okay, for this responsible, this principle, this director is responsible. Section B also maintained about the performance. What is the performance? Whether review has been taken by the director or committee or not. What is the frequency of that review? So how you are implementing that, who is responsible for implementing that, and whether they are reviewing it or not. And if they are reviewing it, then report that, okay, we have performance against this above policy, and there's a follow-up action is there. Statutory requirements have been complied with. Whether the independent assessment evaluation of the working is done by the external agencies. Here you can come into the picture. Or our role as an auditor or our role as an impact assessor has to come into the picture to answer this 11th question. So where there is a no, you can approach these companies and can say that, okay, we can help you in assessing the situation which you are following. And if the answer in the 11 is no, about question is no, then not all the principles are covered, then they have to state the reasons. That why they, because they are not material to the business, or entity is not in a stage where it is in a position to formulate or implement the policies. So they are answerable. The governance, they have to answer the points. Now, most important part is section C, where they have to give the principle wise performance disclosures. This section requires essential, which are mandatory for all the companies. KPI include data on training program conducted, environmental data on energy, emissions, water used, waste, social impact generated by the company. So the social impact is also here. The leadership indicators, these are voluntarily, which provide an opportunity for the companies to present their impact and outcomes. Companies are expected to comply with these indicators for the better accountability and responsibility, like life cycle assessments, conflict management policy, additional data on biodiversity, breakup of energy consumptions, and emissions. So these are the 9 principles you see where they have to report 9 BRSR principles. First is the ethical business practice. Second is the product stewardship. Third is the employee well-being and engagement. Fourth is the stakeholder management. Fifth is the human right. Sixth is the environment. Seventh is the public policy. Seventh is the equitable growth. And eighth is the equitable growth. And ninth is the customer focus. So this is called the ESG implementation program management. How they are managing the program. 100% compliance company should be the robust governance. There should be a framework established. So now SEBI has come up with BRSR, the format you have seen above. These are the form where they have to disclose everything in writing. Standard set of questions are there. So this first principle, which is business should conduct and govern themselves with integrity and in a manner which is ethical, transparent, and accountable. This principle aims to adopt, implement, and make disclosures about the company performance in a fair manner. So this is the theory, but the key component of this is that they have to detailed disclosure of any fine, punishment, fees, compounding fees, any which has been imposed on their directors or on the company. So if there is anything imposed, then they must have to come up with this. Disclosure on the steps taken to establish or review internal controls, conflict of interest and corrective actions at each reportable level. So they have to mention all these points as a principal one. And this is the format just for the sake of your experience. I said there are two essential indicators that how many trainings and awareness program has been held by the board of directors to the KMP, to the employees and to the workers. Topics principal covered. What are the topics they have covered? What is the percentage of persons covered? How many board of directors have been covered in the awareness programs? So if we bring the awareness among the society, definitely the ethics and transparency will increase. Which part has been covered? Which essential name of the regulatory assessment as RGBC principle has been covered? They have given the things, the 3 indicators, essential indicators, and details to be provided in the 3 indicators, mainly essential indicators and leadership indicators. So this is how number of the complaint received. They have to leadership indicator. The mandatory is total number of awareness programs held, topic covered, and percentage of value chain partners. So for the value chain partner, it is not mandatory, but it is the voluntary. Then principle 2, business should have provide good services in a manner that is sustainable and safe. So your product should be sustainable and safe, whether you have used the recycled one or not, whether you are producing something endangering the environment. So metal sustainability challenge throughout the life cycle and value chain. Here again my point that you have to reach out to your suppliers who are producing the raw material for you. What kind of raw material is used, whether they are taking care of their employees or not, whether they are taking care of the environment or not. That need to be understood from the BRSR. So key components R basically is the resource allocations, where the R&D budget is there. The sustainable inputs, the report whether the pollution generated EPR has been or waste collection measures has been taken in place or not. So that all comes under the principle 2, and this is the format how they have been see that company need to disclose their R&D and capital expenditure in the specific technology to improve the environmental and social impacts. They have to give what is the R&D they have done, what is the capex they have done. They have to give the sustainable sourcing, what they have done in the sustainable sourcing case or not. Then company needs to provide the process in process safely collect, reuse, recycle, and dispose your products at the end of the life. Company needs to provide details regarding process in place for reusing, recycling, disposing of plastic, e-waste, hazardous waste, and others. So they have to provide all these details. You see question number 4 that plastic packaging reclaimed at the end of the life product amount in metric tons, reused, recycled, safely disposed, what you have done in the this year and in the previous financial years. These disclosure, these are quantitative data so that you can measure out the impact on the society. Principle 3 is related to the employees. What are the policies framed for the health and welfare of the workers? What are the actions taken by the business to make it accessible to the workers and employees with disabilities? What are the measures taken for increasing the skill upgradation of the employees? Whether the life insurance package has been taken for the permanent and contractual employees. So lot of things now that what are the how many male employees are there, how many female employees are there, whether their health insurance is taken, whether their accident insurance is taken, whether maternity benefit is given to them, whether paternity benefit is given to them, whether daycare facility is given to them. So all these information, these are the essential indicators. So they must have to report. Top 1,000 companies must have to report. And if they extended the policy to their value chain suppliers, then they have to collect the data from their value chain suppliers also. And these are divided into two parts: well-being of the workers, employees. This is the employees and this is the workers. And they have to give data for the 2 years. Then they have to have the accessibility of the workplace. This is how they have to mention that male, female, how many return to work rate, what is the retention rate of the company. So what is the attrition rate? That is also to be captured here. This is all related to the safety incident number. What are the safety numbers are there? That also you need to disclose as the essential indicators. Details of training given to the employee on the health and safety, on the skill upgradation, that they have to mention. Then the performance and career development reviews of the employees. So each and every engagement, now company is now forced to do these activities, and this is voluntary. So this can be on papers this year, but when you are going to assess these, when they have to issue an independent impact assessment report, then you have to verify these numbers. Then they have to keep the record of these numbers. And maintaining the so much record only on the paper is not possible. There should be some reality in that case, and that will bring the change. Provide the number of employees, workers having suffered high consequence work-related injury. So they have to mention that if there are any workers affected, how many employees are affected because of the work-related injury, what is the transition assistance program facilitated to continue the employability. So these all you have to give. Fourth principle is relating to the interest and be responsive to all stakeholders. So they have to identify the stakeholders and group in the priority of the engagement. So this is basic the essential indicators to SSL. What are the key stakeholders? What are the process you have identified? Whether the identified as the vulnerable or marginalized group. So they have to see that whether the group or stakeholders are marginalized or vulnerable, that is sector open to you. Then what are the channel of communication you are maintaining? What is the frequency of the engagement of that kind of stakeholders? And what is the scope of engagement of the key topics you have reached the concerns. So these are the essential they have to report. Principle 5 is to promote the human rights. So they have to make a policy on the human rights. The minimum wage covers under this, the number of hours of the work, though regulations are in place, but earlier it is not mandatory for the companies to disclose, but now it is disclosed, they have to disclose the details. Employee and workers who have been provided training. Again, this sector is also related to employees. That how many employees have been given training on the human rights issues. So they have to give the training also. How many minimum wages have been paid to the workers? So equal to minimum or more than minimum wage. This also give a impact on the society, that whether we are paying minimum or more than minimum wage rates. Number of complaints or following made by the employee and workers related to sexual harassment. So they have to give that what are the filed during the year, what is the pending resolutions, and what are the remarks. So now they have to sort out all the things, what is the discrimination at the workplace, whether there is child labor, whether there is a forced labor or a voluntary labor. So all these things they have to mention. They have to give the remuneration of board of directors, employees other than board of directors, and workers. So you can figure out that there is no discrimination. Then there are the leadership indicators. Those are not mandatory, but percentage of value chain partners. So value chain partners currently is the voluntary, not the mandatory. But many companies come forward that they are implementing the policies on the value chain partners also. Principle 6 is on the business should respect and make efforts to protect and restore environment. So principle 6 is on the environment related. So detail of energy consumption, waste, water waste will come under this section, that how many energy electricity consumption they have done, what is the renewable energy they are using, what is the fossil energy they are using, what is the impact they are created on the society to restore the environment. So all these things will come under the environment. Whether what kind of water they are using, whether they are using the surface water, groundwater, third party water, sea water, recycled. So they have to mention about this. They have to mention the particulate matter, the PM 2.5, PM 10 you understood. So what are the emissions they are generating from their factory? What is the liquid discharge they are doing? So whether they are recycling and using the water in their own plants or not, whether they have the ATP plant or not. So all these factors they have to disclose here. Business should respect and make efforts to protect the restored environment again. So they have to provide. Now this is again for the renewable and non-renewable sources. So they can give it voluntarily. This is not made mandatory. So these all are related to the environment. Big disclosures have been available, have been given for the environment. Then public and regulatory policy, that is also to be transparent. What is the policies, the chamber and association related to the affiliated to the industry, anti-competitive behavior should be there, what are the corrective actions have been taken for that, and what are the regions. So nature and trade associations, whether they have been there has been any collaboration or association of enterprises or not. Now they have to declare it in writing that there is no collaboration of the competitors. Next is the equitable development, growth and equitable development. Sabka saath, sabka vikas. So the detail has to be given. The community grievance mechanism should be there. Their beneficiaries, the CSR project has been taken. This comes into this BRSR reporting, that in addition to the CSR impact assessment report, this BRSR also contains a particular section on the equitable development. Then there is a provide the value to the customers in a responsible manner. So whatsoever product I am selling, that should be there. The cyber related data security, everything we should ensure that it should be there. So what is the data privacy of the employees? You have the Aadhaar card, PAN card, all these things of the employees, advertising, cyber security. So this all you have to mention. What are the complaints you have received? How many are pending at the resolution at the day end? but you have to create a full framework for this to get the data collection. These are the leadership indicators, which are not mandatory as of now, but gradually they will be shifted. Now, touching upon the base that I mentioned in the beginning and more relevant for you guys is the SDG. So, if you see the first slide, I come up with the what are the three parts in my first slide. There are three P: people, planet, and prosperity. Now, the SDG has extended these to peace and partnership, and this is what they have come up with the Sustainable Development Goal, the 17 development goals. First five are related to people, next five related to planet, next five are related to prosperity. One is related to peace and then partnership with the other. In 25th September 2015, 17th General Assembly of the United Nations, all the nations have come up with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And they have given the global indicative framework of 232 unique characters. In 2019, all these BRSRG principles, 9 principles, have been aligned with the sustainable goals. Principle 1 will match with the peace and partnership. Principle 2 has matched with these 10 SDG goals. Principle 3 is taking care of these 7 principles. So each and every principle is aligned. There can be multiple roles that principle 3, 4, 5 all are given to 16 number, which are related to mainly the your employees. So if you are taking this and related to mainly the people, so peace also. So this is coming to everywhere. This is about the integrated reporting, that now integrated reporting are there. Earlier, it is the financial statement focus where the quantity financial is there, accuracy, completeness of financial information, mainly quantitative, but social impact and focus also, where you have to give the ethical performance, including the impact on environment and security. So this integrated reporting is nowadays more popular. So these are the benefits of the BRSR, that top line growth through good sustainability practice should be there. There should be regulatory and corporate governance. Stable health, safety, and environment situation should be there. So with this BRSR, companies will get the reputation, can mitigate their risk. At the last, there is the ESG checklist, where for the environmental factor, whether the company is disposing the water waste, harmful waste, how they are doing. For social factor, about the employees, whether they are paying fair employees, and governance, whether the employees and clients are equally treatable. So coming up with again the effect, with this I can end up the slide, so which I have there, and I am open for the discussion. If you have any issue or any points through the slides, I believe that I have not gone through so fast and able to complete in time, but I am open. This last 10 minutes I am putting up for the Q&A session on the ESG and BRSR, and any other session also on the SDG. Any questions you have?
Sir, first of all, very fantastic session that you have taken
Thank you.
as usual.
Thank you.
So, a few participants are requesting PPT. So, are you going to share?
Yeah, I will share. As I mentioned during my session also, more you give, more you get. So I I am not limiting anything to myself. Definitely, I will share with you, Sanjay ji. You can forward to them.
Yes, we'll do that.
Yeah.
And see, any question from any participants? Any question? Please, Shiva.
Any type of specialization required to do such type of reporting?
Bro, the
Who
tag,
can who can
yeah.
who can do?
So anyone can do this who is from the development, because you should have a development sector background. You should, because you are the people who know the quantity and the qualitative also. So best part is that because they are making mandatory the impact assessment of all this BRSR report from the next year. Currently, this is voluntarily, and namely big four consulting firms or tier two consulting firms are taking up this job. But once you are aware of the data, you can also go there. Once you clear the social impact assessor examination of NISM, then you should also have some degree with you that okay, we are also qualified guys and expert guys in these social development goals. So key is to understand the social development goal. So once you clear the exam, it is taken like a degree. You know all these about things. Like I mentioned, that India is since Vedic times is in favor of sustainability, right? So my point is that once you only we have to organize, we should know the technical wordings, and with the help of this exam, we can always crack these things. With your permission, sorry, I shared Sanjay ji without asking you, but I shared in the chat box all the study material related to social audit.
Thank you, sir. If you can mail me, I will create a drive and along with your presentation, we'll share the things very
Sure,
properly.
sure, sure. Sure, sure, sure. I will share that also. Those who want to take Hemlata ji, you can take the study material from here only uh, from the for the social audit examination.
Any question? So I also share a feedback link. So you share a feedback so that in email we will share the PPT and other material.
Yeah, sure. If you can give some feedback upfront, it will be good. Improvement feedback, obviously, so that for the next participants, I can take care of those things to make the session more attentive and interactive.
Any participants? Any participant would like to share a feedback? Shahid ji, Sachin ji,
Sure,
Nilesh
sir.
sir, please sir.
Thank you, Rakesh ji. I think you have put forward the aspects in a very succinct way, in a very simplistic way. In fact, as you were speaking, I mean, it was like an angel guarding us through all the PPTs that you have taken so much of effort, to put it across. Of course, the way you have so very beautifully compartmentalized the various aspects, I think that will help even a novice, even a first timer to actually learn and understand, Sarji. बहुत धन्यवाद सर जी आपका आपने इतना समय
Thank you,
दिया
Shahid ji.
and I think
Thank you.
we should hold the flag for Professor Vanani so high
Yeah.
because he's been putting across so many wonderful programs. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, we should really thankful for Sanjay ji taking the pain for the society to have organized, because this organizing is a little bit more painful, I understand, rather than because we have to come across the speakers, but bringing everyone on the platform, organizing took so many hours and effortless hours. So that really kudos to Sanjay ji.
Any participants would like to share anything,
Any
please?
improvement? I'm looking for the improvement specifically. If you can give me some one or two improvement ideas, that will help me. तारीफ आप फोरम में कर लीजिएगा, but if you can give me some improvement up front, that I will appreciate.
You can organize some poll during the session so that
Okay, great.
it will be easy to check whether response are in right direction or not. And participants also need free to tick any 4-5 option.
Okay.
Very good,
Okay.
sir. Very good,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
We
Thank you,
will
sir.
uh,
Definitely.
improve these things. It is a good idea.
Thank you, sir. Any other? I have noted it down.
Uh, Any questions from any participants? So, see, in conclusion, I would like to say that it is very emerging, especially phenomena for development sector professionals who can even build a career in this line also, because it is more or less, I would say it is irrelevant. It is not, I think, a core profession of chartered accountant. With due respect, I would say that, but if nobody is doing, so that's why chartered account people, they are involved into it. I would say that it is a real job of development sector professional because they understand the human rights very well. They understand the employee well-being very well. They also understand other component very well because we all are studying into our curriculum. But as I said, if you see the many professional, those who are company secretary, chartered accountants, they are in this field because of no other people are performing. So I think it is a good thing that we can club, our specialty on this part. We work on uh, in a collaborative way so that essence of the things will be perfectly, the catch in the segment, and it will be beautifully represent in a way it need to be present. So thank you, Rakesh sir. I'm not sure that whether participant will join this program or not, but I think it is picked up the very good participants. They're well engaged and they show the interest. I think it is really well. Thank you so much for preparing the very nice and comprehensive presentation for us and delighting our participants on the very top knot areas called ESG and BRSR. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much on behalf of all the people who joined the
No,
programs and the Navjivan Center for Development, sir.
thank you. Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you, sir. So with your permissions and permission of all participants, I would like to end the session over here.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sonuji.
Thank you, Sanjay sir.